Ho, ho, ho. Merry Christmas, you guys. I know what you're probably thinking. Ashes, it's July. What's wrong with you? Are you a certified crazy person? But no. Tons of people all around the nation, all around the world are celebrating Christmas in July. Even Hallmark has all of your favorite Christmas romances lined up for the entire month.
And no politics.
From you either. And none of that rat news.
It keeps me away.
Try coffee.
No country either.
Well, Taylor Swift, she's like more of a muscle dog.
Then I get Kanye.
No country, no rap.
Fine.
Give it a month before you start seeing all the stores putting out their Christmas decorations. And before you know it, it's December. And you'll be broke, dodging drunk Santas on your way to work during SantaCon, anxiety-ridden because of how quickly the year passed. You're reevaluating your life choices as you scrape by on mere cents after buying all of your loved ones' useless material goods just for a fleeting moment of joy. Well, thankfully, I have this nice festive cup of coquito to like wind down and relax. This is totally not seltzer water. It's a coquito. It wouldn't have this label if it weren't. Well, today I wanted to get in the Christmas spirit. I have my elf on the shelf over here. His name is Banjo McJinglesteinington. Banjo McJinglesteinington. He's had this name for a very long time. Well, he'll be helping out here and there. Today's movie is the last installment of the Silent Night, Deadly Night series, and I gotta say I'm late to the party. I was only really familiar with the first two. Those are classics, part 2 is just rehashed footage and that amazing garbage day scene everyone loves.
Garbage day! Huh?
Now I know it must seem silly to jump to the 5th and final one, but that's the one worth talking about. I initially thought I was going to do part 4, but I realized as I was watching part 4 that I kept forgetting it was a Christmas movie. Not to say it's not worth talking about, just not for this video. However, 2 people from that movie happen to be in this movie. Now, 1991, Silent Night, Deadly Night 5, The Toymaker stars the one and only Mickey Rooney. And I know a lot of people correlate Mickey Rooney to his extremely dicey role from Breakfast at Tiffany's. Yikes. I correlate him to those Andy Hardy movies that would play late on TCM and would cure my insomnia. But I do think it's fair that he is best known during his later years as a lovable curmudgeon.
Jiminy Jelliker.
And that's what he delivers here. Quick little note, fun little fact. Mickey Rooney actually wrote a letter of protest regarding the first film after it came out. And I'm going to have Banjo here help me read an excerpt from it.
How dare they? I'm all for the First Amendment, but don't give me Santa Claus with a gun going to kill someone. The scum who made that movie should be run out of town.
Thank you, Banjo. So yeah, it's a little bit odd that he was in this. Well, I'll get into Rooney's character as I go through the movie, because oh boy indeed. But I want to just dive right in like it's a fresh pile of snow on Christmas morning. So it's sometime before Christmas, and we got our main character Derek here, and he hears the doorbell ring, and he goes to look for his mom. He steps out in the swaggiest PJs you've ever seen in your entire life. Sorry, Michael. And he happens to find his mom receiving a very nice big early Christmas gift from his stepdad. So after watching for like a little bit too long, he decides that he's not gonna cock block. He's gonna let them have their gross sex and go answer the door himself. And lo and behold, there's a nice present just for him on the front step. So he grabs it up and decides he's gonna open it. But as he's doing so, he gets caught by his stepdad, who scolds him for opening the door late at night, and he sends him to the room like the naughty little boy he is. But Derek doesn't go to his room. He watches from the staircase as Stepzaddy decides to clean up the mess. But the present begins to move, and Stepzad opens it up, and there it is. It's a glorious old Christmas-themed music box. But it's not just any music box. It's a killer one, and it attaches itself to his face, and then like it causes him to get impaled by this like fire poker. I'm gonna pause right now because I feel like I'm gonna take off this headband because it's becoming an unintentional ASMR video, so pretend I have those off. Anyway, as this is happening to his stepdad, Derek watches in horror. Some time then passes by, and not much time because Christmas still hasn't passed. And Derek and his mom Sarah are trying to cope, trying to move on from their very recent loss. Derek is actually so traumatized that he no longer talks. He is practically a mute.
Come on, Derek. Say something. Talk to me.
A couple of friends and neighbors stop by to check on them. A TV for a local toy store, Pedos, plays on television. Yeah, Pedos, absolutely awful name for a toy store. We'll get into that. But you see, this commercial that they're playing for Pedos catches Derek's attention because he sees a very familiar toy that they are advertising. Also, they keep showing clips of this sus dude who happens to be spying on Derek and Sarah's house. So, Following scene, we got Sarah and Derek visiting Pedo's store, and we finally get to meet Mickey Rooney's character, the Toymaker and shop owner Joe Pedo, and his son Pino. Joe Pedo, Pino. Joe Pedo, Pino. This movie had the audacity, and again, I get that they wanted to be clever, but Pedos doesn't work as a toy store name. Like, just imagine one of your friends coming up to you and they're like, hey dude, you want to go to that old pedo dude's toy store? I mean, I heard he got some real killer balls. Anyway, Pino is Pedo's teenage son, and he's like a rebel. And you know this because he makes these really creepy, scary masks. He wears a leather jacket, combat boots, and a bandana around his neck. You know, he's a real parent's worst nightmare, you know. So as they're browsing, Pedo's sus dude from earlier enters undetected by everyone aside from Derek, who sees him, and he's acting real sus, you know, his MO. Pino then aggressively suggests that Sarah buy Derek this Larry the Larva toy. Well, actually it's spelled larvae here, which is the plural noun, but we'll just ignore that. And this happens to freak them out, and they kind of just bounce after that. And then Pedo is real pissed. He's like, I hate you, you're a disappointment, no one comes to the store because of you, because you're a fucking weirdo. Unbeknownst to them, sus dude is browsing the shop. He then buys a robot toy and the Larry the Larva toy. As he's checking out, he drops this clipped newspaper article covering the death of Derek's stepfather. Next scene, still with sus dude, we see him in this motel room, and he has all these toys that he bought from Pedos. He seems to be opening them up until he hears a knock at the door, and it's the motel owner, and he's pissed off because sus dude's check bounced.
You got a kid?
Yeah, what the hell's that got to do with it?
You give me till tomorrow and I'm gonna give you a nice little toy for your kid for Christmas.
I guess we can deduce he's a good guy.
This better be good.
Oh, yeah, it's to die for.
So motel dude gets killed by this Larry the Larva toy as he's driving home. This murder is kind of gross, kind of weird. It could look cheesy at times, but I think they did a good job with it. Later that night, sus guy, he breaks into Pedo's shop, and he finds this pic of Pino and Pedo in 1970, and gasp, Pino looks exactly the same as he did 20 years ago. Fucking weird, right? And then we find out that Pedo is an alcoholic. and Pino's being locked up in this like underground bunker thing. The following day, Derek and Sarah decide to go to the mall and visit the mall Santa. The mall Santa just happens to be the sus guy. However, at this moment, he's off his shift, but he spots them on the line and convinces a fellow mall Santa to take his shift. This mall Santa, Rick, is played by Clint Howard, and Clint Howard just does what he does best. He's a real creepy, sleazy, just oddball character.
Nothing like that California cutie we have for an elf. Ho, ho, ho!
Nothing like some festive sexism, am I right, guys? So, as it's Derek's turn to sit on Santa's lap, he of course says nothing, and this seems to frustrate Sarah. Why is she surprised? Maybe she thought sitting on Santa's lap was gonna cure his trauma. I don't know. Either way, sus Santa is being weird, not letting go of Derek, just being a real creepy creeper. I mean, you know, I'm thinking this guy's the real Joe Pedo, if you know what I mean. In this scene, they threw in a couple of Easter eggs. This guy online is wearing like a Reanimator shirt, and the girl that was on Santa's lap before Derek asks for a Bride of Reanimator VHS.
And the tape of Bride of Reanimator.
The producer of this film, Brian Yuzna, I'm sorry if I butchered that name, also produced those two movies. So yeah, fun little Easter egg. Meanwhile, Pino breaks into Sarah and Derek's house while they're at the mall, and he's acting like a little freak, like a little weirdo freak, and he totally gets caught. Just gets Sarah all hot. She gets all worked up. She goes to Pedos and she's like, yo, what the fuck is up with Pino? He was hiding in my closet. And Pedos all like, nah, you bugging, you seeing things. And then Sarah is all like, no, don't play me, dude, don't even fuck with me right now, don't let it happen again. So this causes Pino to get his ass handed to him, and he gets tossed down a flight of stairs. So Derek then receives another gift, much like the one from the beginning of the movie, and this time he's like, nah, B. So he takes it and he throws it in the garbage, only for it to be stolen by the next door neighbor, Lonnie, who opens it up, and it's a real cool pair of inline skates. After Lonnie gets into this amazing back and forth with this guy.
What you doing, Squirt?
You blind? You're just dumber than you look.
Don't be a wise ass. I eat kids like you for breakfast. That's why my shit smells so bad.
What an asshole.
The skates begin to move on their own, and he ever so softly gets hit by a car. And I love how this is how he ends up in the hospital, even though he doesn't endure any kind of head trauma, like none whatsoever. Maybe some light bruising to the ribs, but no head trauma, dudes. Anyway, they figure something's amiss, something's a little fishy, something's a little weird after inspecting the rollerblades. Meanwhile, Sarah convinces Derek that it's time to start sleeping in his bed again, even though we're gonna assume this traumatic event happened like a couple weeks ago. And just what in the fresh hell is this? This isn't cute. Did she think this was appropriate to hang up on the wall? Because it's kind of disturbing. It's kind of weird. I think this should be given to a child psychologist, and Derek should be speaking to someone. The following day, sus Santa goes to Derek and Sarah's house, and he tries to give Derek a gift. He even put some real nice fancy wrapping paper on it. He's also really bad at not coming off like a fucking complete weirdo. The babysitter's like, ew, get away. She locks the door in his face, but then also gives him like Sarah's complete work address down to a T.
Come on, just tell me where Mrs. Quinn works. I'll go see her there, okay?
1200 Market Street, 5th floor.
Thank you.
Just like, in his style, he emerges from the shadows to greet Sarah. But wait, plot twist. This happens. Turns out he's really Derek's father, and his name is Noah. I will reserve my opinions on this for later. This scene is also just a dump of exposition, and I hate it.
I wanted to finish college. I wanted a career. And I needed security for that, and you couldn't give it to me, and Tom could.
Listen to me. I did a lot of growing up when I was in the Army. I know what's important now.
So the babysitter Meredith is reading a book to Derek as he's asleep. The story seems to be the original Pinocchio. If it is, it shouldn't exist in this universe. So Meredith's boyfriend Buck breaks into the house, and Buck's the guy who bragged about having smelly poops earlier. They proceed to do the sex in Derek's bed, no less, which is just really strange. And also they decide to make it some weird dual sex scene, and they like cut between scenes of Noah and Sarah boning, then Buck and Meredith boning. Ooh yeah, baby boy, let's make another mistake. So as the babysitter is getting her stocking stuffed, Joe Petto, dressed in a Santa uniform, unleashes an army of killer toys to deliver the sweet, sweet gift of murder. All while Derek watches in horror. Kill scene again is pretty crazy, creative, and gory. Can't really show it, but I do gotta say that Derek is definitely gonna have a fucked up relationship with sex when he gets older. Because every time he witnesses sex, gruesome murder happens like right after. He might be a budding serial killer at this point with all this trauma. Joe Petto kidnaps Derek. Then we get another scene, more exposition dumps from our boy Noah, explaining to Sarah as to why Joe Petto might be rigging these toys.
What reason could he have to hurt innocent children?
From what I remember, he went off the deep end when his wife was killed in a car accident. She was pregnant at the time.
Oh my God.
I guess he felt if he couldn't have a happy family, nobody else would.
So he decides to drop Sarah off at home, but they don't stay very long because they quickly find out that Derek was kidnapped by Joe Petto. Sarah kind of just takes off without Noah. Noah's like telling the neighbor to call the cops. The cops never show up though. And then he goes after Sarah. Both of them break into Petto's through completely different entrances. Sarah ends up breaking into the upstairs apartment, and Noah breaks into the storefront. As Noah is going down into the little factory bunker area, he gets sprayed in the face with a water gun filled with something and tumbles back and gets buried in an avalanche of junk. Sarah then hears the commotion and decides to head downstairs and investigate, but not before grabbing this knife that seems to be coated in like jelly. She runs into this, which is undoubtedly the most terrifying thing in this whole movie. Some might even say the only terrifying thing in this whole movie. I mean, look at it. Just look at it. It should be burned. It should be annihilated. She then stumbles upon Joe Petto's corpse, and oh my God, who can possibly be wearing the Santa suit? It's none other than Pino. I know, surprising, right? He's also a robot boy. He's like a weird half robot boy. But how?
A little of that, and a little of that, and a little of that.
Thanks, Pino. So Pino strips naked, and boy is lacking. He's anatomically incorrect. Ken would put him to shame. You would think with all this advanced technology and Petto's hands and just his sheer skill level that he would at least craft Pino a tiny penis, at least a small one.
My father could make anything. Well, almost anything.
So Pino got a chip on his shoulder, from the beatings and not being good enough for Petto, the lacking of the penis. He also seems to have some variation of an Oedipus complex.
You don't need Derek! I can be your son now! I can!
I knew you'd come. I knew you'd come!
Get away from me!
I can love you like a real son.
I love you, Mommy!
Explain to me what the fuck is happening here. Sarah stabs Pino with a screwdriver. Pino attempts to kill Derek by stabbing a bunch of these sacks of toys that he is inside of. Not sure why he didn't put him in one distinguishable sack of toys. Derek escapes. He's no longer mute. And then there's this showdown with Pino and Noah. Noah is ultimately useless, so Sarah saves the day, saves the night, saves Christmas, and we finally get that happily ever after.
You're safe now, Derek. I'm gonna take care of you.
Who is he?
I'll tell you when we get home, honey.
How joyous. More trauma and confusion for this already damaged little boy.
Mommy!
So after Sarah takes out her rage on No Peen, we end this masterpiece with the worst line in the movie and Derek's third line of the movie.
It's only a toy, Mommy. Just a toy.
You know what, Derek? Shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up right now. No, not just the toy, my guy. So sit down. Before getting into my thoughts, though, I want to talk about the art. This art isn't particularly bad. However, it's not my personal taste in cover art. It kind of looks both like a photograph and like a drawing, which is a bit off-putting, but I guess that works in its favor. I don't like how none of the toys pictured are the ones in the movie, though. Don't even have the iconic music box that we're first introduced to, Larry the Larva, any of the toys that killed Buck and Meredith, so it's a bit disappointing. Out of all the movies, though, in this franchise, this one and the third one have the weakest cover art. Now quickly, my art. I made the toys the focal point. There was a T-Rex toy that was in the scene with Buck and Meredith, so I threw in a T-Rex toy here. I did add a bear, but I wasn't sure if there was a bear, so that's how it's correlated to the original artwork, I guess. I did put Robot Pino in the background, but I kind of hid him. I didn't want any overt spoilers. I didn't get to draw humans, which I enjoyed. It was a bit different. Moving on to my thoughts. It was campy. It was bananas. It was absolutely entertaining. My major gripe is the dad storyline. I honestly feel like it didn't make sense. It was unnecessary. I guess the inclusion of Noah was to throw the viewer off and make the viewer confused and possibly suspect him instead, especially with the initial motel scene. And again, he didn't look suspicious even when he purposefully killed the motel owner and left a child fatherless for the holidays. How am I supposed to like this dude? How is anyone supposed to? And also, I'm not even sure if Derek knew that was his stepfather. I have my suspicions because in the beginning he only calls for his mother, but that's really the only clue they give you. Aside from that, no. And then there's the retelling of Pinocchio. It's total nonsense, but it's campy and it gives the movie character. It's pretty hilarious. But in terms of what others think, it generally has favorable reviews. Most reviews are pretty long, so I'll just go through the few short ones I found. I'll start with the bad ones. Here's a 1 star from Chris Petrosini. I think I'm gonna have my boy Banjo help me out here.
This is a real stinker. This movie is so bad, Mickey Rooney, and this flop. I can't get over WAP. You have nothing else to do and you want to buy or rent this movie. Don't pay over $2 for it.
But you heard it from Petrosini himself. If you see this movie for $1, $1.25, $1.50, $1.95, give it your time. The second that shit hits $2, it can't even be $2.01. Don't fucking watch this movie. Alright, next up, 2 stars. Greg Amucci.
Nothing really happens, and then a woman gets essayed by a robot boy with no genitalia.
This is great because it really strips the movie down to its core. It doesn't give too many details, but essentially this is what the movie is about. Then there's these 2 other reviews. They might be bad, they might be good. I can't tell since the star rating seems to be at odds with the reviews themselves.
3 stars. LMAO, what the fuck? And 3 stars. Man, what the hell was that?
Those truly speak for themselves, all while being vague. They encapsulate how I feel because I was thoroughly entertained by this movie and confused at the same time. I feel like this movie isn't a shocker unless you're just bad at watching movies and didn't realize that these 2 characters were supposed to be the modern versions of Geppetto and Pinocchio, but they throw that in your face incessantly. This movie is a holiday movie, but it can be watched all year around. It's not a movie that you pop in during Christmas time and you sit down with eggnog and or hot cocoa to get into the holiday spirit. It's not a cozy movie. Aside from it taking place in Cali and the characters constantly wearing like jackets and stuff, no snow to be seen. But to me, it felt appropriate for Christmas in July. And that's really all I have to say. So give me a thumbs up for Peenless Pinocchio. I mean, poor guy, right? And Banjo. Gotta give him his props. And comment if you have anything nice to say or anything naughty to say. And subscribe. And until next time, peace.